If you're looking to move to the Bowling Green, Kentucky area, here's a couple things you're gonna wanna know that a lot of people don't talk about. Number 5, one of the more positive things that a lot of people don't necessarily talk too much about if you're considering moving to Bowling Green, Kentucky is the fact that Bowling Green has so many good local restaurants. Seriously, guys, I mean, this is important. If this is important to you and like your everyday quality of life, things you like to do, you like to go out with your significant other in the evenings, nightlife here and things to do and places to eat is happening. And this is important when Kentucky is full of smaller towns. Not a lot of our small towns have many choices or a large variety of local mom and pop or locally owned restaurants that are good. But Bowling Green is not one of them. Bowling Green is hugely underrated in my opinion when it comes to places to eat and for the amount of good local restaurants that we have. I won't get into all the specific restaurants that are here, but if you're looking for a town that has more than just the chain restaurants, the franchises that you're all so used to, I don't think I even need to name them. You already know which ones every town in America already has, right? If you want a little more to your variety when it comes to eating out, Bowling Green's got it, guys. And you can check out my video on the ultimate food guide in Bowling Green. I list, I think probably 10 of some of the best here in Bowling Green. Now, of course, I can't list them all, but you can go through and Google them yourself and find a plethora of good places to eat here. A lot of people don't tell you that because maybe they don't find that like maybe interesting or that important when we're talking about coming to a new town. But I'm here to tell you, in Kentucky, there's only 2 major cities in Kentucky, Louisville and Lexington. And Bowling Green being the 3rd biggest in population, it's important to know that when you're coming here, you've got good restaurants to choose from. Now, as the towns in Kentucky get smaller and smaller, those restaurant options get fewer and fewer. So it's important, and when you're coming here, you'll know you've got good places to choose from. The 4th thing that people may not tell you, or may tell you incorrectly, is that it can be difficult to pick a place to live in a certain area or district and be able to redistrict or apply to send your kid to school in a different district. It's difficult here, and a lot of people don't maybe share that or maybe share that information incorrectly. The reason we know this is because we have personally lived it. So we at one point lived for many, many years in the Hardin County area, which is around the Elizabethtown area, right? Our kids have attended many schools in that area, and we found over the years it was very easy to, let's use Radcliffe for example. We wanted to live in Radcliffe and then maybe apply to send our child to Central Hardin High School, for example, which is further down in E-Town in another district. And the answer was simply, yeah, sure, bring them. Like it wasn't a big deal. Now, I will say that every situation and every school year is different. That yes that you get may not always be a yes. And so in saying that, I found that it was easier to do that in Hardin County over the 2 decades that my children were in school than it was in Warren County in Bowling Green. Because in Warren County, we were told no immediately right off the bat. Warren County schools are full and you must live in that district to send your kid to that school. And it was a no right off the bat. So I think the answer to the question is make sure you're contacting the local Board of Education. And they will tell you if a specific address, is in a specific school district. You want to verify that. It is the responsibility of the buyer to verify what school district you're in, because they can change. And when you're purchasing a house for that reason, you want to know that your kid can be sent to that school. So always call the Board of Education. Don't always take your agent's advice, because the only advice to give is it is the buyer's responsibility to verify that information. We do know a family who, rented a property thinking they were going to be able to, actually they were being told by an agent that they were going to be able to apply for a different district. And they put down their deposit on this rental property And come to find out, the school denied their application to apply for the other school district. And so turned out they were going to have to purchase or find a property in that school district they wanted. But at that point, they had already put down thousands of dollars on a deposit, and the homeowner or landlord, they were not willing to refund that money, even though the family did not move into that property. So when school district was very important to them, they lost out on thousands of dollars just because they were told that they could apply for a different district, and that wasn't actually true. So yes, while we actually experienced an easier process in Hardin County in doing that over the years, I can't say that that is something that you can count on. Their schools may be just as full at this point, and the answer may be no at this point. But the point is, always check with the Board of Education first. The third thing that maybe doesn't get shared as much is that in South Central Kentucky, there aren't a lot of basement options. So if tornadic weather and tornadoes and like extreme weather is something that you're very concerned about, it does happen, and it can happen at any point throughout the entire year. Totally unpredictable here in this area. Not very common, but very possible. Maybe not very probable, but very possible. It does happen. And not a lot of homes here have basements. Now, if you're looking a little further north than Mammoth Cave, the homes up toward Elizabethtown, Kentucky, for instance, there's a lot more options for basements up in that area. In Bowling Green or Warren County, for instance, however, there are some homes that have basements here. It's just a lower percentage. So there is availability. It's just, if you're really concerned about that, we can help you find a house that has a basement. They do exist, but they're fewer and fewer the further south you go. A couple pros to it is that you can purchase a home that's near a public tornado shelter area. There are several around Warren County, and if it's something that you're very concerned about, there's public shelters to go to. The other pro being, if you didn't have a basement, well, chances are the property you're buying is probably a little less expensive because it's less square footage you're purchasing, and maybe it's a little less to clean. In my personal opinion, less is more these days, right? So less toilets to clean, maybe a little less Cheetos to dig out of the couch. Maybe you got a family room or a family room in your basement with a movie theater couch and your kids are stuffing Cheeto crumbs down in there. It's one less Cheeto mess you have to clean up, right? The number two thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, and maybe it does, is the traffic. Even though Bowling Green is considered a big, small town, boy is the traffic rough around here on certain streets. Those streets are Scottsville Road, Nashville Road, and Campbell Lane. They are the worst, and you may sit at the same traffic light 2 to 3 times just to get through the light, like 5-10 minutes some days. If you hit the time of day wrong and you're stuck at 4 or 5 lights for 5 minutes each, and it can put you back 30 minutes of your drive time. So while Bowling Green is not necessarily like a big city, it's not like Atlanta. Anywhere outside 10 minutes outside of town, you're going to be able to scoot around traffic just fine. But that main artery there with all the shopping and restaurants and where everything is, you hit that the wrong time of day and you're going to get stuck. And listen, that wrong time of day is somewhere between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. I think it's funny to note that like people's attitudes change when they're on different streets, right? So like I noticed that drivers 10 minutes out of town, maybe you're on Scottsville Road headed toward Barren River Lake, right? You're headed towards Scottsville, right up Scottsville Road, 10 minutes outside of Bowling Green, it gets real quiet and you can go 65 the whole way with no traffic, right? Well, drivers on that road seem to be a little more patient. They're not cutting you off, they're not honking at you, trying to swerve around you. On the other hand, if you get caught on Scottsville Road right in the area of the mall at 3 p.m., right when school lets out, drivers take on a different attitude. And there might be some honking, there might be some scooting out of my way business going on, and a little bit of road rage there, but I will say it's nothing like driving to Nashville, Tennessee down I-65. Nashville drivers are just ruthless. I'm just gonna go there. They're a different breed. I see your little blue license plate that says Tennessee, and every time I head that direction, I just know to bring my A game and make sure I've had my coffee and brought my patience, because those drivers are not playing around. They know they've got to get through that traffic quickly, and it's just not possible at certain hours of the day. So, hey, I guess you got to do what you got to do, but I don't prefer it. Bowling Green drivers are a lot less impatient. So that's a positive. Traffic's just one of the things you have to deal with always in life anyway. I will say in Bowling Green it's less than in a bigger city. There are certain roads that just stay away from them if you can, certain hours of the day. And the number one thing that people don't tell you, in my opinion, this is the worst part about living in Bowling Green, Kentucky, is daylight savings time. It is being on the central time zone line, and from November to January, it is dark at 4:30. That's right, folks. If you just live 1 hour north of here, you're on the Eastern time zone. So if you're looking at the map, you can see here that the time zone line cuts right through the center of Kentucky. So if you live north, like in a town like Elizabethtown, you're on Eastern time. And in November, when daylight saving hits and we all have to change our clocks back an hour, it gets dark in E-Town about 5:30. Well, an hour straight south is not that different, like east to west when the sun's setting. And so you cross that time zone line and 5:30 is 4:30 in Bowling Green. The sun is still in the same position on the earth. I'll never understand how that actually happens, because when we lived out in Idaho, I don't know how the earth shifts. I'm not like a scientific, expert here, but in Idaho, like that didn't happen. Idaho had the most daylight in any state I've probably visited. It was light at 5 a.m. and it was still daylight at like 6:30 in the winter. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. Here in Bowling Green, that's not the case. We turn those clocks back, and guys, you're dealing with darkness at 4:30 for a good 60 days, through the early parts of the winter. Now, we all know in January, right after the new year, whatever happens to the earth starts to shift in a more positive direction, and we'll start to get a little more daylight, and we'll creep back into that lovely time of summer when the sun doesn't go down till 9 p.m. It's glorious. But November to January, guys, it's 4:30 in Bowling Green. It sucks. I have 2 tips for you if you are a person who experiences seasonal depression, which I'll just go ahead and admit on camera, I am. My husband Jarrett knows this about me. My kids know this about me. I struggle through the winters here. We do not get snow. We've talked about this in many of our videos. It's mostly rain. It's gloomy and cloudy. There's no color on the trees. It's muddy and wet and cold, and it's very humid here, so that dampness like really gets in your bones. It's really chilly. So not only is it ugly and gray, it's also wet and cold. And on top of that, it's dark at 4:30. I struggle through it. Many people struggle through it. So here's 2 tips I got for you. Number 1's easy. Book a vacation. And I'm not even kidding. You've got to get out of the covering between Cincinnati, Ohio. Oh, I'd even say Columbus, Ohio, down to maybe mid-Alabama. I'd even say south of Orlando is where you have to go to get sunshine that time of year. Now, on a given day, it might be hit and miss, of course. While it's cloudy in Bowling Green, it might be really sunny in northern Alabama. But typically, that cloud coverage hangs over this whole like southeast valley, and you can't get any sunlight unless you get on a plane and get above the clouds or book a trip south of Orlando. If seasonal depression is something that you struggle with, this might be an area that is problematic for you, but hop on a plane, get somewhere for a week, you'll be okay. The second tip I have is get a happy light. If you've never heard of a happy light, you can look them up on Amazon. They're UV-free LED lights, and you can like change the setting to warm, it's not like bright white office lights, like warm sunshine light. It kind of gives off a natural sunlight feel in your home. The one I really like is the Verilux Happy Light Floor Lamp. Now it's like $129, but they make a cheaper version, and it's the Verilux Happy Light Touch Plus. Verilux Happy Light Touch Plus, UV free, and it's about $49. Sometimes maybe $49 to $69, but it's like a little shorter version, and you can sit it on a desktop or move it around. I like them both, but there's different settings, and you can really put them anywhere around your house and change the feel of the lighting in your home. I'm telling you, it works, and if you're like me, it will help you get through that 60 to 90 days of doom and gloom. That's it for today's video. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was positive and it was informative to if you're wanting to move to the Bowling Green area. You're gonna wanna know these things. And if you wanna reach out to Jarrett and myself, our information is always in the link below. We would be more than happy to help you find your perfect non-doom and gloom home here in Central Kentucky. Thanks guys for watching. See you soon.